The stars blurred into streaks as Eli Thorne's ship, the Wanderlust, punched through hyperspace and emerged into the shadowed orbit of Zerathia. The planet below was a ghost of its former glory, a swirling mass of crimson storms and jagged ruins that whispered tales of a fallen empire. Eli leaned forward in the pilot's seat, his heart pounding not just from the rough entry but from the legends he'd chased across the galaxy. Zerathia, the Forbidden World, home to the cursed throne that had claimed countless explorers before him, but Eli wasn't like them. He was human, stubborn, resourceful, and driven by a fire that no alien artifact could extinguish. The cockpit hummed with the soft beeps of scanners, painting a picture of desolation below. Crumbling spires pierced the toxic clouds like skeletal fingers, and energy signatures flickered erratically, hinting at ancient traps still alive after centuries. Eli's co-pilot, a grizzled android named Jax, swiveled its head toward him. "Captain, survival odds are plummeting. 42% and dropping. This place eats ships for breakfast." Eli flashed a grin, his blue eyes sparkling with that reckless human charm. "Good thing I'm not here for breakfast, Jax. I'm here for the prize." The prize was the eternal crown, said to grant unimaginable power, but at a cost. Whispers in shady spaceports spoke of a guardian bound to it, being of ethereal beauty trapped in eternal torment. Eli had dismissed most of it as spacer folklore, but something about the stories tugged at him, a mix of adventure and an inexplicable pull toward the unknown. As the ship descended, turbulence rocked them like a lover's quarrel. Eli gripped the controls, muscles flexing under his worn leather jacket. He was no stranger to danger. Back on Earth, he'd been a rogue pilot smuggling relics from war-torn colonies. But Zerathia felt different, personal. Almost. The atmosphere thickened and warning lights flashed. "Incoming anomaly," Jax barked. A vortex of swirling energy materialized ahead, pulling at the ship's hull with gravitational claws. Eli banked hard, sweat beading on his forehead, his mind racing through evasion patterns honed from years of outrunning pirate fleets. The ship groaned in protest but held, skimming past the distortion by mere meters. That was too close. Eli muttered, wiping his brow, but deep down, excitement surged through him. This was why he lived, to dance on the edge of oblivion. They broke through the clouds, and the surface unfolded like a nightmare canvas. Vast wastelands dotted with the husks of grand palaces, their walls etched with glowing runes that pulsed faintly in the dim light. Eli spotted their target, the Grand Citadel, a monolithic structure at the heart of the ruins, where the cursed throne supposedly resided. Legends said it was guarded by spectral drones and worse, echoes of the Zerathian Empire's wrath. Touching down on a cracked landing pad, Eli suited up in his environmental gear, the fabric hugging his athletic frame. He grabbed his plasma rifle and a scanner, slinging them over his shoulder with practiced ease. Jax stayed behind to monitor the ship, its mechanical voice crackling over the comms. "Be careful, Captain. Humans are fragile." Eli chuckled. Fragile were the ones who conquered the stars with nothing but grit and bad decisions. Stepping out into the howling wind, he felt the weight of the planet's history pressing down. Dust whipped around him, carrying the faint scent of ozone and decay. He trudged forward, boots crunching on shattered crystal pathways that once hosted parades of alien nobility. As he approached the Citadel's massive gates, partially ajar, as if inviting doom, a low hum filled the air. Drones, ancient sentinels with glowing red eyes, emerged from hidden alcoves, their weapons charging with an ominous whine. Eli dove behind a fallen pillar, heart racing. Identification required. One droned in a synthesized voice, translated through his helmet's AI. "Time to improvise," Eli whispered. He fired a burst from his rifle, the plasma bolts sizzling through the air and melting the first drone's chassis. The others swarmed, lasers scorching the ground where he'd stood moments before. Eli rolled, firing back with precision, his human agility turning the tide. One by one, they fell in sparks and smoke. Panting, he rose, adrenaline singing in his veins. "See, fragile my ass." Pushing through the gates, the interior was a labyrinth of echoing halls, walls adorned with faded murals depicting Zerathian warriors in epic battles. The air grew thicker, charged with an electric tension that made his skin tingle. Deeper in, the scanner beeped wildly. "Energy spike ahead," Jax reported. "It's alive." Eli's pulse quickened as he entered the throne room. There, atop a dais of shimmering obsidian, sat the cursed throne, a twisted amalgamation of metal and crystal, humming with forbidden power, and chained to it was her. She was breathtaking. Long white hair cascaded like a silken waterfall over her pale, flawless skin. Her body was a vision of curves, clad in tattered furs that clung to her form like a second skin, accentuating every graceful line. Small, pointed ears peeked through her hair, giving her an elfin allure that was both alien and intoxicating. Her eyes, golden and luminous, fluttered open as he approached, locking onto his with an intensity that stole his breath. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice a melodic chime that echoed through the chamber, carrying centuries of longing. Eli froze, rifle lowering. "I'm Eli Thorne, and you're real." The legends hadn't done her justice. She was Zara, the last empress of Zerathia, bound by the crown's curse for eons. The chains glowed faintly, symbols etched into her skin pulsing in rhythm. "Touch me," she pleaded, extending a slender hand. "Break the spell, free us both." Hesitation gripped him, but something deeper, curiosity, compassion, desire propelled him forward. His gloved hand met hers, and in that instant, the world shattered. Energy surged through him, visions flashing, empires falling, stars dying, and a love that transcended time. The chains dissolved in a burst of light, and Zara slumped forward. Caught in his arms, she looked up, her golden eyes wide with wonder. "A human, you've awakened me." Her touch lingered, warm and electric, stirring feelings Lee hadn't anticipated. As alarms blared, more drones activating, he scooped her up, her body light and yielding against his. "We need to move," he said, voice husky. But as they fled the room, dodging laser fire, Eli couldn't shake the spark between them. This wasn't just a rescue, it was the beginning of something cosmic, forbidden, and utterly irresistible. The escape was a blur of chaos. Drones pursued them through collapsing corridors, their mechanical whirs mixing with Zara's soft gasps. Eli blasted a path, his shots precise, drawing on that unyielding human spirit. Zara, weakened but fierce, summoned faint energy burst from her fingertips, disrupting the machine's circuits. "You're kind, so bold," she murmured, clinging to him. Reaching the ship, Eli burst into the cockpit. "Jax, get us out of here." The engines roared to life as the Wanderlust lifted off, shaking off pursuing drones like annoying insects. Zerathia's surface receded, but the real adventure was just igniting. In the quiet of space, Zara stood before him, shedding her furs to reveal more of her ethereal form. "Thank you, Eli, but the crown's power, it's in me now, and the Empire's remnants will hunt us." Her hand brushed his cheek, sending shivers down his spine. Eli met her gaze, a smile tugging at his lips. "Let them come. Humans don't run from fate, we rewrite it." As their ship hurtled into the void, the stars seemed to align for a love story written in the cosmos, where a human hero and an alien empress would defy galaxies, but shadows loomed. Far in the distance, imperial cruisers stirred, sensors locking onto their trail. The hunt was on, and with it, secrets that could unravel everything. Zara leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. "There's so much I must tell you and show you." The promise in her voice was electric, hinting at passions unbound by worlds or curses. Eli's heart raced. This was no ordinary salvage mission. It was destiny, wrapped in mystery and desire. As the ship stabilized, Eli guided Zara to the medical bay, where soft lights illuminated her features. She moved with a grace that belied her centuries of imprisonment, her white hair swaying like moonlight on water. "Your world, Earth, is it? Tell me of it," she said, sitting on the edge of the bed, her fur-clad form inviting yet vulnerable. Eli chuckled, removing his jacket to reveal a fitted shirt that hugged his toned physique. "Earth's a mess, wars, wonders, and way too much coffee, but humans, we're survivors. We fall, get up, and we keep dreaming." He sat beside her, the proximity making the air thicken. Zara's golden eyes sparkled. "Dreaming? I have dreamed of freedom for so long, and now, with you?" Her fingers traced his arm, light as a feather igniting sparks. Before he could respond, the ship shuddered. "Incoming vessels," Jax announced. "Zerathian signatures, they're fast." Eli sprang up. "Strap in, looks like our welcome party's here." As alarms wailed, Zara's hand found his again, a silent vow amid the storm. The chase began, weaving through asteroid fields, Eli's piloting skills shining as he outmaneuvered the pursuers. Blasts rocked the ship, but he held steady, protecting his newfound companion. In a lull, Zara whispered, "Eli, the curse isn't fully broken. It binds me to you now, in ways you can't imagine." His eyes met hers, curiosity mingling with attraction. "Then let's imagine together." The galaxy stretched endless, but for Eli and Zara, the real journey was inward, toward hearts entwined across species and stars. The alarms wailed like a siren's call, piercing the fragile cocoon of intimacy that had begun to form between them. Eli's hands flew across the controls, the wanderlust twisting through the void as Zerathian cruisers closed in. Their sleek, predatory hulls glinting under distant starlight. Zara strapped herself into the co-pilot's seat, her fingers brushing his thigh in the haste, a touch that lingered just a fraction too long, sending a jolt through him that had nothing to do with the ship's evasive maneuvers. "They're gaining." Jax's voice crackled over the intercom, flat and unemotional as always. "Shields at 78%. Recommend dumping cargo to light and load." "No way," Eli shot back, his voice steady despite the adrenaline surging in his veins. He banked sharply, threading the needle between two massive asteroids, debris pinging off the hull like angry hornets. Zara's golden eyes widened, not in fear, but in fascination, as if this dance with death was a revelation after centuries of stasis. Her hand found his again, gripping the armrest but inching toward him, her skin cool yet alive with that subtle hum of energy, the remnants of the curse, or perhaps something more primal. "Ili," she breathed, her voice a velvet whisper amid the chaos. "You're piloting? It's poetry in motion. Humans move with such fire." Her words wrapped around him, intoxicating, as the ship shuddered from a near miss. A laser grazed their port side, sparks flying in the cockpit, and Lee felt her lean closer, her breath warm against his neck. The scent of her exotic, like wildflowers under alien suns, filled the confined space, stirring desires he hadn't expected so soon. He glanced at her, just for a heartbeat, taking in the way her white hair cascaded over one shoulder, partially obscuring the curve of her breast beneath the fur wrap. Those pointed ears twitched slightly, attuned to frequencies beyond human hearing, and her lips parted in a mix of exhilaration and something deeper, hungrier. "Hold on," he murmured, his free hand covering hers, fingers intertwining. The contact was electric, a spark that raced up his arm and pooled low in his belly. In that moment, amid the pursuit, the galaxy narrowed to the heat between their palms. The lead cruiser fired again, a barrage of energy bolts lighting up the asteroid field like fireworks. Ili dove low, using a chunk of rock as cover, the ship groaning under the strain. "Jax, reroute power to rear thrusters, give me everything." As the android complied, the Wanderlust surged forward, but not before a glancing hit weakened their shields further. Alarms blared red, and Zara's grip tightened, her nails sharp and elegant, digging into his skin just enough to blur the line between pain and pleasure. In the lull that followed, as they pulled ahead momentarily, Zara turned to him fully. "The curse binds us, Ili. When you touched me, it wove our essences together. I feel your pulse as my own, your desires echoing in my mind." Her voice dropped lower, husky with implication, her golden eyes darkening with a promise that made his mouth go dry. She shifted in her seat, the fur slipping slightly to reveal the smooth expanse of her thigh, pale skin glowing under the cockpit lights. It was deliberate, he realized, a tease born of ancient instincts, or perhaps the curse's lingering influence heightening every sensation. Ili swallowed hard, forcing his eyes back to the scanners. "What does that mean for us?" he asked, his tone rough, betraying the heat building within him. The cruisers were regrouping, their formations tightening like a noose, but right now, the real tension was here, in this cockpit, where the air hummed with unspoken yearnings. "It means," Zara replied, leaning in so close that her lips nearly brushed his ear, "that I can sense what you want, and I want it too." Her free hand trailed up his arm, fingers tracing the muscles tensed from gripping the controls. The touch was featherlight, yet it ignited a fire, her energy pulsing through him in waves that made his breath hitch. Visions flickered at the edge of his mind, shared dreams from the curse, her body arching in ecstasy, his hands exploring the contours of her alien form, a union that defied stars and species. A warning beep snapped him back. They're deploying fighters small, fast, closing in at Vector 3-7-9. Jax's interruption was a cold splash, but it only amplified the suspense, the erotic undercurrent weaving through the danger like a forbidden thread. Ili executed a barrel roll, the G-forces pressing Zara against him, her curves molding to his side in a way that was both accidental and utterly deliberate. She gasped, a sound that was half surprise, half invitation, her hand sliding to his chest, feeling the rapid thud of his heart. "You're incredible," she whispered, her voice laced with awe and desire. No Zerathian warrior could match this raw power. Her words fueled him, turning fear into fuel as he outmaneuvered the first fighter, blasting it with the ship's cannons in a bloom of fire. Debris scattered, and for a breathless second, they were clear, but another fighter latched on, its weapons locking. Zara's eyes narrowed, her pointed ears flattening slightly as she concentrated. "Let me help." She placed her palm flat on the console, and a surge of energy flowed from her, disrupting the enemy's targeting systems. The fighter veered off, confused, giving Eli the opening to destroy it. But the effort drained her. She sagged back, breathing heavily, her chest rising and falling in a rhythm that drew his gaze despite the peril. Their eyes met again, the intensity crackling like static. "That power, it's part of you," Eli said, his voice low, one hand leaving the controls to cup her cheek. Her skin was silk under his thumb, and she nuzzled into the touch, a soft purr escaping her throat, an alien sound that sent shivers down his spine. "But it's exhausting you." "Only because it's new, shared," she murmured, her lips grazing his palm. The gesture was intimate, erotic in its simplicity, promising more in the quiet spaces between battles. "Touch me, Eli, it strengthens the bond." Her invitation hung in the air, heavy with suspense. What would happen if he gave in fully? Here, now, with enemies closing in? The cruisers fired a net of tractor beams, invisible threads snagging at the Wanderlust's edges. Eli cursed under his breath, flipping switches to overload the engines for a burst of speed. The ship lurched, throwing Zara into his lap momentarily, her body pressing against him in a tangle of limbs and fur. Heat flooded him, her scent enveloping, her curves fitting perfectly as if designed for this. She didn't pull away immediately. Instead, she lingered, her golden eyes locking on his with a hunger that mirrored his own. "Eli?" Her whisper was a caress, her hands roaming his shoulders, nails tracing patterns that made him ache. The erotic tension built like a storm, suspense coiling tighter with every near miss outside. Would they escape? Would this bond consume them before the enemies did? He eased her back gently, though every fiber screamed to pull her closer. "First, we survive this. Then, we explore." His promise was laced with heat, eyes devouring her form the way the fur clung, hinting at secrets beneath. As they broke free of the tractor net, diving into a nebula's concealing clouds, the pursuit faded to echoes, but the real chase, the one between them, had only intensified. Zara smiled, slow and seductive, her fingers lingering on his thigh. "The nebula hides us. For now, time to rest, or something more?" Eli's pulse thundered, the cockpit feeling smaller, warmer. The suspense of the hunt outside paled against the erotic pull drawing them together, inch by inch, in the swirling mists of the nebula, with stars as their only witnesses. The boundaries between savior and seductress, human and alien, began to blur. She unbuckled slowly, standing with a grace that made his breath catch. "Come with me to the quarters. The bond, it calls." Her hand extended, an invitation wrapped in mystery, her body silhouetted against the viewport, curves accentuated by the soft glow. He rose, following, the door hissing shut behind them. The room was dim, lit by emergency lights that cast shadows playing over her white hair and pale skin. Zara turned, stepping close, her fur wrap slipping just enough to reveal the elegant line of her collarbone, the symbols from the curse faintly glowing like invitations etched in light. "Tell me," Eli said, his voice rough with restraint, "what does the bond feel like for you?" He reached out, fingers brushing her arm, tracing up to her shoulder, feeling the warmth beneath. "Like fire in my veins," she confessed, pressing into his touch. "Your essence mingles with mine, awakening senses I thought lost." Her hands explored him in return, sliding under his shirt to feel the hard planes of his chest, her touch cool yet igniting sparks. A soft moan escaped her as their bodies aligned, the erotic charge building with every breath. Suspense hung heavy. Would the ships find them? But in this moment, it was the anticipation of surrender that thrilled. Eli's lips hovered near hers, the air between them electric. "Show me," he whispered. Zara's golden eyes fluttered, and she pulled him down onto the bunk, their bodies entwining in a slow, sensual dance. Her legs wrapped around him, fur soft against his skin, as kisses trailed from neck to ear, whispers of ancient desires filling the space. The bond pulsed, heightening every sensation, her nails raking lightly down his back, his hands discovering the curves hidden beneath her wrap. Time stretched, the nebula's clouds swirling outside like a veil of secrecy. Their exploration was tender yet urgent, suspense weaving through the erotic haze, a beep from the console, a distant sensor ping, reminders of the danger lurking. But it only fueled the fire, making each touch more intense, each gasp more profound. As they lost themselves in the rhythm, Zara arched beneath him, her voice a sultry murmur. "Eli, this is just the beginning." The words promised depths untold, erotic secrets bound by curse and fate, while outside, the galaxy held its breath. In the afterglow, as they lay tangled, hearts sinking in unnatural harmony, a new alarm pierced the quiet. Cruisers emerging from the nebula's edge. Jax warned. "They're adapting." Eli bolted up, Zara's hand still clutching his. The suspense returned full force, but now laced with the erotic aftertaste of their union, a bond forged in fire, unbreakable, they raced back to the cockpit, clothes disheveled, skin flushed. The chase resumed, but something had shifted. Zara's power surged stronger, fueled by their intimacy, disrupting enemy scans with a wave of her hand. Eli piloted with renewed vigor, their touches lingering, a brush of fingers on controls, a knowing glance. As fighters swarmed again, the erotic tension simmered beneath the surface, promising more stolen moments amid the storm. Would they outrun the Empire, or would the bond consume them first? The Wanderlust plunged deeper into the nebula, enemies in pursuit, but Eli and Zara were no longer just fugitives, they were lovers, bound by a curse that felt increasingly like a gift. The nebula's swirling vapors enveloped the Wanderlust like a lover's embrace turned treacherous, tendrils of ionized gas clawing at the hull as Eli pushed the engines to their limits. Fighters darted through the haze like phantoms, their energy weapons slicing through the clouds in erratic bursts, each one a heartbeat away from ending their flight. Zara sat beside him, her presence a grounding force amid the turmoil, her hand still warm from their stolen intimacy, fingers occasionally brushing his as she channeled her enhanced power to jam enemy communications. The bond between them thrummed stronger now, a living current that amplified her abilities and sharpened his instincts, turning what should have been desperation into a synchronized ballet of survival. Eli, they're flanking us, 2 on the left, 3 emerging from the core. She warned, her golden eyes scanning the holographic display with an intensity that made her pointed ears twitch. Her voice carried a dramatic edge, laced with the weight of ancient prophecies fulfilled in this chaotic now. He nodded, veering the ship into a denser pocket of the nebula, where electromagnetic interference crackled like lightning, disrupting the fighters' locks. A bolt grazed their shields, rocking the vessel violently, and Eli felt the thrill of the chase ignite every nerve, thrilling in its raw danger. Curious in how the bond seemed to whisper tactics directly into his mind. "Jax, divert auxiliary power to the forward cannons, make every shot count," Eli commanded, his tone rising with the drama of the moment. The android complied silently, and Eli fired a salvo that erupted in brilliant explosions, vaporizing one fighter in a fireball that illuminated the nebula's depths. But the others adapted, their formations tightening, as if guided by some hive mind from Zerathia's lost era. Zara gasped, her body tensing, and in that instant, a surge of energy flowed from her through their linked hands, creating illusory decoys that drew enemy fire away. How are you doing that?" Eli asked, his voice a mix of awe and curiosity, even as sweat trickled down his brow. "The bond," she replied breathlessly, her white hair disheveled yet ethereal in the flashing lights. "It's evolving, feeding on our connection, but Eli, I sense something, deeper in the nebula, a presence." Words hung heavy, stirring a surprising undercurrent of dread amid the thrill. The scanners beeped erratically, picking up an anomaly ahead, a massive structure hidden within the gas clouds, ancient and foreboding, its silhouette emerging like a ghost from forgotten myths. It was no asteroid, it was a derelict Zerathian warship, colossal and intact, its hull inscribed with the same glowing symbols that marked Zara's skin. Thrilling anticipation built as Eli steered toward it, the fighters closing the gap with relentless fury. "If we can dock there, maybe we can lose them inside," he suggested, his heart pounding in dramatic rhythm with the ship's alarms. Zara's eyes widened, a flicker of recognition crossing her features. "That's the Eternal Sentinel, my flagship, lost during the Empire's fall. It shouldn't be here, unless the curse called it." The revelation hit like a thunderclap, curious and surprising, unraveling threads of her past she hadn't shared. Centuries ago, she'd commanded it in a cataclysmic battle, only for the Crown's betrayal to seal its fate and hers. As they approached, the warship's automated defenses stirred to life, turrets swiveling with ominous whirs, but Zara extended her free hand, palm glowing, and the systems recognized her essence through the bond. "It knows me," she murmured, her voice trembling with dramatic emotion. The docking bay yawned open, swallowing the Wanderlust just as the fighters unleashed a barrage. Eli maneuvered inside with precision, the bay doors clamping shut behind them, sealing out the pursuers in a climactic slam that echoed through the vast, empty halls. The interior was a tomb of grandeur, corridors lined with crystalline walls that pulsed faintly, as if the ship still breathed. Dust motes danced in the beam of Eli's flashlight as they ventured out, Zara's fur-clad form moving with regal poise beside him. But the thrill turned to suspenseful dread when alarms blared, not from outside, but within. Intruders detected. A synthesized voice boomed in ancient Zerathian, translated through Eli's suit. Holographic guardians materialized, spectral warriors armored in light, wielding energy blades that hummed with lethal intent. "Ili, these are echoes of my crew, twisted by the curse," Zara cried, her golden eyes filling with dramatic sorrow. The first guardian lunged, its blade slicing the air where Ili had stood moments before. He rolled, firing his plasma rifle, the bolt passing harmlessly through the hologram only to disrupt its form temporarily. Thrilling combat ensued, the guardians swarming in a whirlwind of light and shadow. Ili dodged and weaved, his human agility a surprising advantage against their predictable patterns, but they reformed endlessly, drawing on the ship's infinite power reserves. Zara joined the fray, her hands weaving arcs of energy that shattered two guardians in bursts of static. "The bond, use it," she urged, grabbing his arm. In that touch, power surged between them, curious visions flashing, memories of her commanding this ship, lovers lost in the Empire's wars, secrets of the crown that could unmake realities. Empowered, Ili channeled the energy, his shots now laced with ethereal force, disintegrating guardians in climactic explosions of light. But as they pressed deeper toward the bridge, a larger threat emerged, a colossal holographic emperor, Zara's long-dead consort, his form towering and wrathful. "You dare return, betrayer?" The hologram thundered, its voice shaking the deck. Zara froze, the dramatic weight of her past crashing down. "Kale, no, this isn't you." The crown corrupted everything. The emperor's image lunged, a massive energy fist slamming down. Ili shoved her aside, the impact cratering the floor beside them. Thrilling adrenaline coursed through him as he fired back, but the hologram adapted, drawing strength from the ship's core. Curious whispers filled Ili's mind through the bond, Zara's thoughts revealing a surprising truth. The Emperor wasn't just a program, he was a fragment of the curse, bound to the warship, waiting for her return to reclaim her. "He wants to possess me again," she confessed, tears glistening in her golden eyes. "But with you, we can end it." In a climactic surge, they linked hands fully, the bond igniting like a supernova. Energy poured forth, Ili feeling Zara's essence merge with his, her fears, her passions, her unyielding spirit fueling a beam that pierced the hologram's core. The Emperor roared, distortions rippling through its form as systems overloaded. Surprising explosions rocked the ship, corridors collapsing in dramatic cascades of debris. "We have to get to the core, destroy it," Ili shouted, pulling her along as guardians reformed in desperate waves. They fought side by side, a thrilling symphony of blasts and energy waves, each strike a testament to their growing union. Zara's fur wrap tore in the melee, revealing more of her glowing symbols, which now pulsed in sync with Ili's heartbeat. Reaching the core, a pulsating crystal chamber, the Emperor's final manifestation blocked their path, its eyes burning with jealousy. "She is mine, human insect," it bellowed, but Ili, empowered by the bond, leaped forward in a surprising twist, driving his rifle's bayonet, infused with their combined energy, into the hologram's chest. Zara amplified the strike, her scream echoing as the core shattered in a blinding flash. The ship quaked violently, systems failing in a climactic chain reaction. Alarms wailed of impending destruction, the nebula outside churning as if sensing the upheaval. "Run!" Ili yelled, scooping Zara into his arms, her body trembling from the exertion. They raced back to the Wanderlust, dodging falling beams and exploding consoles, the thrill of survival mingling with curious aftershocks of the bond, visions of alternate futures where they ruled galaxies together. Detaching just as the warship imploded in a spectacular vortex, sucking in the pursuing fighters, the Wanderlust burst free from the nebula. Silence fell, broken only by their ragged breaths. Zara looked at him, golden eyes wide with surprise and gratitude. You faced my past and shattered it. But Ili, the bond revealed something. The curse isn't just binding us, it's awakening powers in you too." His skin tingled, a faint glow appearing on his arms, symbols mirroring hers. The dramatic revelation hung between them, thrilling in its implications, curious about what human-alien fusion might unleash. As they hurtled toward unknown stars, the Empire's remnants surely regrouping, the climax of this battle felt like merely the prelude to greater storms. Yet in the quiet aftermath, Zara's hand found his once more, the touch now laced with deeper intimacy. "Whatever comes," she whispered, "we face it as one." The ship stabilized, but the air hummed with unresolved tension, surprising echoes of the Emperor's voice lingering in their minds, hinting that not all fragments were destroyed. Far in the distance, a new signal pinged on the scanners, an imperial dreadnought, larger than any before, bearing down with unyielding purpose. The thrill returned, dramatic and unrelenting, as Eli plotted their next evasion. But now, with powers awakening and bonds unbreakable, the galaxy trembled at their approach. Zara leaned in, her lips brushing his in a fleeting kiss that promised more. "Let's show them what a human and a Zerathian can do." The words ignited fresh curiosity, surprising depths of alliance blooming amid the stars. As the dreadnought's shadow loomed, Eli accelerated, the chase evolving into something epic, a legend in the making, where love and power intertwined in thrilling defiance. The dreadnought silhouette grew on the scanners like an encroaching storm, its massive bulk eclipsing the stars as it bore down with the inexorable force of a tidal wave. Eli's fingers danced over the controls, plotting a frantic course away from its grasp, while Zara's kiss still lingered on his lips, a fleeting warmth that now fueled his determination amid the rising drama. The ship's engines hummed in protest, pushing harder as the behemoth unleashed a volley of warning shots, energy beams lancing through space like accusatory fingers, missing by margins that made Eli's stomach twist. "Zara, that thing's got enough firepower to vaporize a moon," he said, his voice edged with dramatic urgency, eyes flicking between the viewport and her. She stood close, her hand on his shoulder, the symbols on her skin glowing brighter in response to the threat, as if the bond sensed the peril and amplified their shared resolve. But as the dreadnought hailed them, a booming voice demanding surrender, an awkward hitch interrupted the tension. Jax's intercom crackled to life with impeccable timing. "Captain, incoming transmission. Also, the galley replicator is malfunctioning again. It's producing nothing but romantic candlelight dinners." Eli blinked, a bark of laughter escaping despite the drama unfolding outside. "Jax, really?" Now, the android's deadpan delivery added a layer of unintended humor, diffusing the intensity just enough to make Zara tilt her head, her pointed ears perking in confusion. "Candlelight dinners, is this a human ritual for impending doom?" she asked, her golden eyes narrowing curiously. The fur wrap slipping slightly from her shoulder in the ship's vibrations, an awkward distraction that had Eli averting his gaze momentarily, heat creeping up his neck. Not exactly," he stammered, heightening the awkwardness as he tried to refocus on the evasion. "It's more for dates, romance, but let's not get sidetracked that dreadnought's locking weapons." The ship shuddered from a near hit, and Eli executed a spiraling dive, the G-forces pressing them together in the cockpit. Zara stumbled into him, her curves flush against his back, hands bracing on his arms. The contact was electric, stirring memories of their earlier intimacy, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Jax chimed in again. "Correction, the replicator now insists on mood music. Shall I play Bolero in the Void?" Zara's laughter bubbled up, light and melodic, cutting through the drama like a ray of unexpected sunshine. "Your machine has a sense of humor, or is it flirting?" The awkward situation escalated as sultry tunes filled the cockpit, smooth jazz with alien flutes making Eli groan in mock despair. "Jax, override that. We're in a life-or-death chase, not a bad rom-com." But the humor provided a brief respite, humanizing the chaos and drawing them closer. Zara's amusement softened her regal poise, making her seem more approachable. More his, yet the drama heightened relentlessly. The dreadnought deployed boarding pods, sleek, arrow-like vessels streaking toward them like hungry predators. "They're trying to latch on," Zara warned, her voice turning grave, the symbols on her skin flaring as she summoned energy to disrupt their trajectories. One pod grazed the hull, scraping with a screech that set teeth on edge, and Eli felt the bond pulse, sharing her strain. "Hold on, I'm venting atmosphere in the cargo bay to shake them off." He flipped switches, the ship lurching as air whooshed out, dislodging the pod in a dramatic expulsion of debris. But another pod succeeded, clamping onto the side with a thunderous clang. Alarms blared, breach detected, intruders aboard. The awkward humor evaporated, replaced by thrilling urgency as Eli grabbed his plasma rifle, Zara manifesting an energy shield around her palm. "Stay behind me," he said protectively, but she stepped forward with a defiant smile. "We're in this together, remember? Besides, your human bravado is endearing." Her words carried a teasing lilt, adding a spark of humor even as boarders, Zerathian commandos in sleek armor, burst through the airlock. The corridor erupted in chaos, laser fire crisscrossing like a deadly light show. Eli dove behind a bulkhead, returning fire with precise bursts that felled the first commando in a spray of sparks. Zara unleashed waves of telekinetic force, hurling two more against the walls with satisfying thuds, her white hair whipping around her like a storm. But the drama intensified when a commando got too close, grappling with Eli in a brutal hand-to-hand. The alien's strength was overwhelming, pinning him down, but Zara intervened with a dramatic cry, her energy blast sending the foe flying right into a panel that sparked and shorted, plunging the corridor into flickering emergency lights. In the dim glow, Eli rose, panting, only to trip over a loose cable in the awkward aftermath, tumbling into Zara's arms. She caught him effortlessly, their faces inches apart, breaths mingling. "My hero," she quipped, her golden eyes twinkling with humor. But the moment was shattered by another commando charging from the shadows. Eli fired blindly, the shot ricocheting comically off the wall before hitting its mark, eliciting a surprised yelp from the intruder. "Lucky shot," Zara teased, helping him up, her touch lingering in a way that heightened the awkward tension. Were they fighting for their lives or flirting through it? More boarders poured in, the drama building to a fever pitch as Eli and Zara fought back-to-back, a seamless duo forged by the bond. He quipped between shots, "You know, on Earth, we'd call this a bad first date." Zara laughed, deflecting a blast with her shield. "Then let's make it memorable." Her energy surged, amplified by their proximity, creating a barrier that repelled the wave, but one commando slipped through, tackling Zara to the ground. Eli's heart stopped in dramatic horror seeing her vulnerable, fur disheveled, cymbals pulsing erratically. With a roar, he charged, tackling the assailant off her in a clumsy but effective pileup that ended with him pinning the commando. Fists flying, Zara rose, dusting herself off with regal dignity, but not before the awkward sight of Eli wrestling like a barroom brawler drew a chuckle from her. Humans fight so, passionately, and messily. The humor undercut the drama just enough to keep spirits high, as Eli subdued the foe with a well-placed stun. But the real escalation came when the Dreadnought's captain hailed again, voice dripping with menace. "Empress Zara, return what is ours, or we'll tear your human pet apart." The word stung, heightening the drama as Zara's expression darkened, ancient grudges resurfacing. "They think I'm still their prisoner," she hissed, but Eli placed a hand on her arm, offering a humorous wink. "Pet, I've been called worse, like captain of a junk heap." His levity eased her tension, but the awkward truth lingered. The bond made her vulnerabilities his, and vice versa. Seizing the moment, they rigged the breached airlock with explosives from the cargo bay, Jax's malfunctioning replicator spitting out romantic flares that doubled as distractions. Who knew candlelight could be a weapon? Eli joked, setting the trap. As the remaining boarders advanced, Zara lured them in with a holographic decoy of herself, her real form hidden beside him. The explosion rocked the ship, ejecting the intruders into space in a dramatic plume of fire and debris. Panting in the aftermath, Eli and Zara leaned against the wall, the awkward silence broken by Jax, breach sealed, replicator now producing victory champagne. "Shall I pour?" They both laughed, the humor a bomb against the drama, but the dreadnought loomed closer, its main cannons charging. "We can't outrun it forever," Zara admitted, her hand finding his, the touch a mix of comfort and spark. Eli grinned, pulling her into a quick, awkward embrace amid the wreckage. "Then let's outsmart it. Humans are good at that, turning disasters into dates." Her smile returned, golden eyes softening as they raced back to the cockpit. The drama heightened with every passing second, the dreadnought's shadow engulfing them, but their bond, forged in fire, awkward mishaps, and shared laughter, promised they wouldn't face it alone. As Eli initiated a desperate hyperspace jump, the ship straining under the pressure. A final awkward twist, the replicator malfunctioned one last time, flooding the cockpit with bubbles from the champagne. Zara burst into giggles, wiping foam from her face, the humor lightening the dire escape. "Your world is full of surprises," she said, leaning in for another kiss as stars stretched into lines. The Wanderlust leaped away, leaving the dreadnought in their wake, but echoes of its pursuit lingered, a dramatic promise of battles to come, laced with the awkward, humorous quirks that made their journey uniquely theirs. In the hyperspace tunnel, safe for now, Eli turned to her, curiosity burning. "So, about that pet comment? Care to explain your ex-empire's grudge?" Zara's expression turned playfully evasive, heightening the intrigue. "Later. First, let's enjoy this bubble bath victory." Their laughter echoed, a humorous counterpoint to the drama, as the ship hurtled toward new horizons, bonds deepening in the most unexpected ways. Yet, unknown to them, a stowaway commando, clinging to life in a hidden compartment, stirred, adding a layer of suspenseful drama beneath the surface humor. The adventure was far from over, awkward situations and all. Hyperspace enveloped them in a cocoon of streaking lights, the Wanderlust gliding through the ethereal tunnel with a soothing hum that drowned out the echoes of pursuit. The bubbles from the malfunctioning replicator floated lazily in the low gravity, catching the glow of the console and turning the cockpit into a whimsical, sparkling haven. Zara's laughter faded into a soft, inviting smile as she wiped a foam-speckled strand of white hair from her face, her golden eyes locking onto Elise with a depth that spoke of unspoken promises. The kiss they'd shared moments ago lingered like a sweet aftertaste, drawing them closer in the quiet respite, the drama of the chase giving way to a more personal intensity. "Illy," she murmured, her voice a gentle caress amid the ship's vibrations. "This victory, it feels like ours to claim fully now." Her hand slid from his arm to his chest, fingers tracing the rhythm of his heartbeat through his shirt, the bond pulsing warmly between them. The awkward bubbles popped softly around them, adding a light-hearted touch to the building anticipation, but the air grew thicker with a shared desire that had been simmering since their first touch on Zerathia. He turned in his seat, pulling her onto his lap with ease, the fur wrap shifting against her curves as she settled against him, her legs draping over his in a natural, intimate fit. The hyperspace tunnel stretched endlessly, granting them this stolen time, and Ellie felt the weight of the galaxy melt away. "You're right," he whispered, his lips brushing her pointed ear, eliciting a soft shiver from her. "No more running, at least not right now." His hands explored the smooth expanse of her back, fingers dipping under the edges of the fur to feel the warmth of her pale skin. The faint glow of the symbols responding to his touch like stars awakening. Zara arched slightly, pressing into him, her breath quickening as their bodies aligned, the bond amplifying every sensation into waves of shared bliss. She tilted her head, capturing his mouth in a deeper kiss, slow and exploratory, tongues dancing in a rhythm that mirrored the ship's gentle sway. The taste of her was exotic, hints of nectar from distant worlds, stirring a hunger in him that went beyond the physical. As their kisses grew more fervent, her hands roamed lower, unfastening his shirt with deliberate care, exposing the toned lines of his chest. Ellie mirrored her, gently parting the fur wrap to reveal the elegant curves beneath, her body a masterpiece of alien grace, soft and inviting under his palms. The symbols on her skin shimmered brighter, syncing with his pulse, creating a harmonious glow that bathed them in soft light. Zara pulled back just enough to meet his gaze, her golden eyes hooded with longing. "The bond makes everything feel so alive," she confessed, her voice husky as she guided his hand to her waist, encouraging him to explore further. Ellie's touch was reverent, tracing the contours of her hips, the smoothness of her thighs, each caress drawing soft sighs from her lips. She shifted in his lap, the friction building a gentle heat between them, her small, pointed ears flushing with color, a sign of her growing arousal that fascinated him. In return, she pressed closer, her fingers mapping the planes of his abdomen, down to the buckle of his pants, undoing it with a teasing slowness that heightened the anticipation. As clothing fell away in the confined space, their bodies came together skin to skin. The contrast of her cool, ethereal form against his warm, human vitality creating an exquisite harmony. Ellie lifted her effortlessly, moving them to the nearby bunk in the adjacent quarters, the door sealing with a soft hiss. The bubbles followed in the low gravity, popping against their bare skin like playful kisses, adding a whimsical element to the intimacy. He laid her down gently, hovering above her, admiring the way her white hair fanned out like a halo, her curves accentuated by the soft lighting. Their union began with tender explorations, his lips trailing down her neck, across the glowing symbols that pulsed in response, sending ripples of pleasure through both of them via the bond. Zara's hands tangled in his hair, guiding him lower, her body arching to meet his touch. She whispered encouragements in her native tongue, words that translated through the bond as expressions of delight and connection, making the moment feel profoundly shared. Ellie responded in kind, his mouth and hands discovering sensitive spots that made her gasp, her legs wrapping around him in invitation. When they finally joined, it was a slow, deliberate merging, their movements sinking effortlessly as the bond wove their sensations together. Ellie felt her pleasure as his own, waves of warmth cascading through him, building in intensity with each rhythmic motion. Zara's golden eyes locked on his, wide with wonder, her nails grazing his back lightly, not to scratch but to anchor herself in the ecstasy. The pace quickened, their breaths mingling in soft moans, the ship's hum providing a steady backdrop to their passionate symphony. Peaks of bliss rose and crested, shared through the bond in synchronized bursts that left them trembling, bodies entwined in a tangle of limbs and fur. In the afterglow, they lay wrapped in each other, hearts beating in unison, the symbols on their skin fading to a gentle luminescence. Zara nestled against his chest, her pointed ears brushing his chin, a contented sigh escaping her. Eli, it's more than the curse, it's us, she murmured, tracing lazy patterns on his skin. He held her closer, planting a kiss on her forehead, the intimacy deepening their connection beyond words. But even in this serene moment, the bond hummed with subtle undercurrents, echoes of her past, hints of powers yet untapped. Eli felt a faint curiosity stir, wondering what other secrets their union might unlock. Zara lifted her head, smiling softly. Rest now, the stars will wait. As they drifted into a light slumber, the hyperspace tunnel carried them onward, the intimacy a beacon of hope amid the vast unknown. Yet, in the quiet, a soft creak from the cargo bay went unnoticed, a reminder that not all threats had been left behind. The stowaway commando, battered but alive, stirred in the shadows, his presence a lurking shadow over their newfound closeness. For now, though, the world was just them, two souls bound across species, exploring depths of affection that defied the cosmos. As hyperspace began to fade, signaling their exit, Eli stirred, pulling Zara into another embrace. The intimacy lingered, a warm glow sustaining them as reality encroached once more. Whatever comes next, he whispered, we face it together. She nodded, her body still attuned to his, ready for the adventures ahead. The ship emerged into normal space near a tranquil nebula cluster, stars twinkling like distant promises, but the peace was short-lived. Scanners picked up faint signals, imperial probes scanning the area. Zara sat up, the fur wrap draping loosely around her, her expression shifting to alertness. They are persistent, she noted, but with a spark of determination fueled by their recent bond. Eli dressed quickly, helping her adjust her wrap with tender care, their touches still charged with affection. Let them come, we've got something they don't each other. As they returned to the cockpit, the intimacy of moments ago transformed into a shared strength, ready to tackle whatever the galaxy threw next. In the vast expanse, their story unfolded, a blend of passion and peril, where every touch reaffirmed their unbreakable alliance. The nebula cluster unfolded before them like a canvas of swirling pastels, tendrils of gas and dust shimmering in hues of violet and gold, a deceptive serenity that masked the faint blips of imperial probes dancing on the scanners. Eli adjusted the ship's trajectory, weaving through the outer edges to avoid direct confrontation, while Zara leaned over the console, her fur wrap loosely tied, the afterglow of their closeness still warming the air between them. The bond hummed contentedly, a subtle thread connecting their thoughts, allowing glimpses of each other's resolve, hers ancient and unyielding, his fiercely human and adaptive. Those probes are scouts, she said softly, her golden eyes narrowing as she analyzed the data streams. They're mapping our position, relaying back to the dreadnought. We could jam them, but that might draw more attention. Eli nodded, his hand covering hers on the controls, the touch a reassuring anchor. Or we turn the tables, hack one and send false coordinates, buy us time to refuel at that nearby outpost. The plan formed seamlessly through their link, a testament to how intertwined they'd become, and as the wanderlust closed in on the nearest probe, Zara channeled a pulse of energy to interface with it, her symbols glowing faintly under her skin. The hack succeeded in moments, the probe's signals scrambling into decoys that scattered like fireflies, leading any pursuers astray. Eli exhaled in relief, pulling her into a quick embrace. See, teamwork makes the dream work. She smiled, nuzzling against his shoulder, the intimacy of their recent union lingering in every gesture, making the vastness of space feel intimately small. But as they plotted a course to the outpost, a neutral trading hub orbiting a gas giant, the ship's internal sensors flickered oddly, a minor glitch that Jax dismissed as residual hyperspace interference. All systems nominal, Captain. Though the replicator is now stable, mostly, they docked at the outpost without incident, the station's bustling docks a hive of alien traders and smugglers, neon signs flickering in a babel of languages. Eli and Zara ventured out, disguised in hooded cloaks, her pointed ears tucked beneath fabric, their hands linked under the folds as they navigated the crowded markets. The bond allowed them to communicate silently, sharing observations, a shady vendor hawking Zerathian artifacts, a cluster of imperial informants lurking in the shadows. We need fuel cells and shield upgrades. Eli thought to her, and she nodded, her presence in his mind a comforting whisper. But as they bartered for supplies, a subtle unease crept in. Zara paused at a stall displaying ancient runes, her fingers tracing a familiar pattern, and through the bond, Eli felt a flicker of something buried, a memory not quite hers, or perhaps too deeply hers. Eli, there's something I need to tell you." She began aloud, her voice hesitant, but a commotion interrupted, alarms blaring across the station as imperial forces raided a nearby berth. Chaos erupted, traitors scattering, blasters firing in sporadic bursts. Eli pulled her into an alley, heart racing. "Not now, we have to move." They sprinted back toward the ship, dodging patrols, the bond guiding their steps in perfect sync. But as they reached the Wanderlust's airlock, a figure emerged from the shadows inside, the stowaway commando from the dreadnought breach, his armor scarred but functional, a disruptor aimed squarely at them. Eli raised his rifle instinctively, shielding Zara. "How the hell did you survive the explosion?" The commando lowered his weapon slightly, his helmet retracting to reveal a face strikingly similar to the holographic emperor from the warship, angular features, golden eyes, white hair cropped short. "Because I'm not just a soldier," he rasped, his voice echoing with dramatic resonance. "I'm Kale, her consort, and you're the fool who's doomed us all." Zara froze, her hand slipping from Eli's, the bond suddenly fracturing with static interference. "Kale, impossible, you died in the fall." But the man Kale stepped forward, his presence commanding, eyes locking on hers with a mix of pain and accusation. "I survived, Zara, cloned, preserved by the Crown's failsafe. I've been hunting you, not to capture, but to save you from yourself." Eli's mind reeled, the bond transmitting flashes of confusion from Zara, genuine shock, or was it, "What are you talking about?" Eli demanded, rifle steady, but Kale's next words shattered the air like a thunderclap. "The curse isn't what she told you, human. It's not a punishment, it's a weapon. Zara created it." The revelation hit Eli like a physical blow, the bond convulsing as suppressed memories flooded through, visions of Zara in her imperial prime, not as a victim, but as the architect, forging the throne and crown in a desperate bid to preserve her empire against a galactic cataclysm. She'd bound herself deliberately, waiting centuries for a worthy catalyst, a being from beyond Zerathia, untainted by her world's decay. Humans, with their resilience and adaptability, were the key. "You were the spark," Kale continued, his voice laced with bitterness. "Your touch didn't break the spell, it activated it. The bond isn't love, it's assimilation. She's been siphoning your essence, turning you into the vessel for Zerathia's rebirth." Zara's golden eyes widened, but Eli felt the twist deepen through their link, a surge of denial from her, mingled with a hidden truth that made his blood run cold. "No, Eli, he's lying," she pleaded, stepping toward him, but the symbols on her skin flared erratically, and in that instant, Eli saw it, faint changes in himself, his veins subtly glowing under the skin, his senses sharpening beyond human limits. The intimacy they'd shared wasn't just passion, it was the mechanism, accelerating the transfer. Surprise gripped him, the woman he'd rescued, loved, was using him as a conduit to resurrect her fallen empire, her affections a calculated facade to ensure compliance. Kale pressed on, his disruptor now aimed at Zara. "The empire fell because she unleashed the curse too soon, wiping out our fleets in a bid for ultimate power. I was her consort, her equal, but she sacrificed us to perfect it. Now, with you, it's complete. If we don't stop her, the bond will consume you, and Zerathia will rise again, devouring galaxies in its hunger." The station's alarms grew louder, imperial reinforcements closing in, but the real battle raged internally. Eli lowered his rifle slightly, torn, the bond pulling him toward Zara even as doubt eroded it. "Zara, is it true?" His voice cracked, the surprise twisting like a knife, the savior becoming the saved, only to discover he was the sacrifice. She reached for him, tears glistening. "It started that way. Yes, I needed a human spirit to ignite the revival, but Eli, the bond changed everything. What I feel now, it's real. I don't want the empire if it means losing you." Her confession hung in the air, raw and vulnerable, but Kale scoffed. "Lies, the curse twists emotions. Kill her now, human, before it's too late." The airlock trembled from external blasts, the drama escalating as choices loomed: trust the bond, or shatter it. Eli's mind raced, visions from the bond confirming fragments, her initial plan cold and calculated, but evolving into genuine affection through their shared trials. Yet the surprise lingered. Had their love been engineered, or had it transcended the curse, as imperial troops breached the docks outside? He made his move, stunning Kale with a quick shot, not lethal but disabling. "We're getting out of here," he told Zara, pulling her aboard, the ship detaching amid gunfire, but as they blasted away, the twist's aftershocks reverberated, Kale's words planted seeds of doubt, and through the bond, Eli sensed Zara's internal conflict, a queen torn between power and passion. Jax's voice cut in, oblivious. Escape vector plotted. But Captain, your vitals are anomalous. Eli glanced at his hands, the glow intensifying, a surprising harbinger of transformation. Zara placed her hand over his, her touch pleading. I'll explain everything. The curse can be redirected, we can share the power, not let it consume. But as they hurtled into the nebula's depths, evading probes once more, Eli wondered if the real twist was yet to unfold. Could he trust her, or was he already too far gone? The ship stabilized, but tension simmered. Kale, bound in the cargo bay, stirred weakly, muttering warnings. You'll see, she's the destroyer. Zara turned away, golden eyes shadowed, the bond now a double-edged sword, uniting them, yet revealing cracks. Eli pulled her close, seeking truth in her embrace. No more secrets, he whispered. She nodded, but deep in the bond, faint whispers of power lingered, surprising even her with its persistence. As new signals appeared on scanners, not imperial, but ancient Zerathian beacons awakening, the twist propelled them into uncharted territory. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the human and the Empress to decide its fate, their love a fragile thread against the surprise of destiny's design. The nebula's depths swallowed the wanderlust whole, its swirling mists coiling around the ship like suspicious whispers, the ancient Zerathian beacons pulsing on the scanners with an insistent rhythm that mirrored Eli's racing heartbeat. Zara stood beside him in the cockpit, her hand still resting on his, but the touch now carried a weight of uncertainty, the twist of her revelations hanging between them like an unspoken accusation. Kale's warnings echoed in Eli's mind. Bound as the clone was in the cargo bay, yet his presence felt like a shadow stretching across their fragile alliance. Those beacons, they're responding to the bond. Zara explained, her voice steady but laced with dramatic undertones, golden eyes flickering toward the viewport where faint lights pierced the fog. They're remnants of my fleet, awakening because the curse, the revival, is nearing completion. Eli squeezed her hand, trying to anchor himself in the affection he still felt, but the glow under his skin intensified, a surprising reminder of how much he'd already changed. Completion? Zara, if this is about turning me into some Zerathian supersoldier for your empire's comeback tour, we need to talk, like, really talk. His tone aimed for levity, but the drama escalated in his chest, a storm of betrayal and longing clashing like warring stars. She turned to him, her white hair catching the console's glow, the fur wrap clinging to her curves in a way that stirred memories of their intimacy. Making the moment awkwardly charged, here they were, on the brink of cosmic upheaval, yet his body betrayed him with a flicker of desire. Before she could respond, the ship jolted, a beacon's energy field snagging them like an invisible net. Alarms wailed, and Jax's voice cut in with its usual monotone flair. Captain, we're being pulled in. Also, the replicator's at it again, now it's dispensing what appears to be Zerathian aphrodisiacs, chocolate-covered, for some reason. Eli groaned, the awkward timing eliciting a reluctant chuckle from Zara, her pointed ears twitching in amusement despite the peril. Your machine has impeccable comedic sense, she said, but her smile faltered as the ship shuddered closer to the largest beacon, a massive, derelict station orbiting a hidden asteroid. Its surface etched with symbols that mirrored those on her skin, and now they docked forcibly. The airlock hissing open to reveal a cavernous interior lit by erratic, pulsing lights, the air thick with the scent of ozone and forgotten power. Eli grabbed his rifle, motioning for Zara to stay close, but as they stepped inside, Kale's restraints in the cargo bay mysteriously failed. Jax later blamed a glitch, but Eli suspected sabotage through the bond. The clone burst into the corridor, disruptor in hand, his golden eyes blazing with righteous fury. You fools, the beacons are traps, she designed them to amplify the curse. The drama heightened instantly. 3 figures in a standoff, Eli caught between his lover and her supposed betrayer, the awkward triangle of emotions making the vast station feel claustrophobic. Zara, tell me he's wrong, Eli demanded, rifle wavering between them, his voice cracking with the weight of doubt. She stepped forward, hands raised placatingly, but tripped over a loose panel in the floor, an awkward tumble that sent her crashing into Eli's arms, her body pressing against his in a tangle that was equal parts intimate and embarrassing. Kale snorted, lowering his weapon slightly. See, even the station rejects her lies, or is this another ploy to seduce you further? Zara righted herself, cheeks flushing under her pale skin, the humor in the mishap undercutting the tension just enough for Eli to bark a laugh. Great, now we're in a space soap opera. Next, someone's evil twin shows up, but the levity shattered as the station's systems activated, holographic interfaces blooming around them like accusatory ghosts. A massive projection of Zara, younger, imperious, crown atop her head, materialized, her recorded voice booming, "Initiate revival protocol. The catalyst has arrived." The drama surged, Eli's heart plummeting as the hologram detailed her plan, selecting a human outsider to infuse with Zerathian essence, rebuilding the empire through a bonded hybrid. Zara's face paled, the awkward truth laid bare. "I recorded that centuries ago, before I knew what real connection felt like." Kale advanced, his disruptor humming. "Lies, she's playing you, human. The bond twists everything, love into loyalty, doubt into devotion." Eli backed away, rifle trained on Kale, but his free hand instinctively reached for Zara, the bond pulling him despite the revelations. The station rocked from an external blast. Imperial forces had tracked them via the beacons, their ships emerging from the mists like vengeful specters. "Incoming vessels," Jax announced over the comms. "And Captain, the replicator just produced a banner saying congratulations on your ascension." "I believe it's malfunctioning," ironically. The humor landed flat amid the chaos, but it spurred Eli into action. "We need to shut this down now." They raced deeper into the station, Kale reluctantly joining the fray as Imperial troops breached the outer hull, blasters firing in dramatic salvos that lit the corridors like fireworks. Eli dodged behind a console, returning fire with precision, his enhanced senses, courtesy of the bond, making him faster, sharper. Zara unleashed energy waves, disrupting a squad, but one trooper got too close, grappling with her in a clumsy wrestle that ended with her pinning him awkwardly, her fur wrap askew. "A little help," she called, and Eli blasted the foe, but not before Kale quipped. "Empress of the Stars, defeated by wardrobe malfunctions. How the mighty fall." Zara shot him a glare, the awkward banter heightening the drama, old lovers sniping while the human catalyst tried to hold it together. The trio pressed on to the central chamber, a vast dome where the revival core pulsed like a beating heart, symbols swirling in the air, Imperial reinforcements poured in, the battle intensifying into a whirlwind of blasts and shouts. Eli took a grazing hit to the shoulder, pain flaring, but Zara's touch through the bond numbed it instantly, her eyes wide with concern. "Eli?" The drama peaked as Kale sacrificed a moment to cover them, blasting a trooper off Eli's back. "Not for you, human for what she could have been." The awkward alliance formed in the heat of battle, humor emerging in Eli's pained grin. "Thanks, ex-boyfriend, didn't know you cared." Reaching the core, Zara interfaced with it, her hands glowing as she attempted to override the protocol. But the system fought back, holographic defenses manifesting as spectral warriors, echoes of Zerathian legends that swarmed them. Eli fought fiercely, his rifle barking, but the drama escalated when the core scanned him, declaring in a mechanical voice, "Catalyst integration at 70%, ascension imminent." Symbols erupted across his body, pain and power mingling in a surge that dropped him to his knees. Zara cried out, torn between shutting it down and saving him, while Kale hesitated, his disruptor aimed at her back. "End it, Zara, or I will." The awkward standoff froze time, Eli writhing, Zara pleading, Kale wavering. Imperial troops closed in, their commander shouting orders to capture the Empress and her pet. Eli, through gritted teeth, cracked a joke, "Pet again, at least buy me dinner first." The humor broke the tension. Kale lowered his weapon, joining Zara at the core. "For once, she's right, this has to stop." Together, they channeled energy, the bond extending awkwardly to include Kale's cloned essence, creating a triad of power that overwhelmed the system. Explosions rocked the station, debris falling in dramatic cascades as the core destabilized. They fled back to the ship, Imperial fire nipping at their heels, Eli leaning on Zara for support, his body still humming with partial ascension. "You okay?" she asked, voice thick with emotion. He nodded, managing a weak smile. "Yeah, hey, but next time, let's skip the family reunions." Kale, covering their retreat, rolled his eyes. Humans and their quips, it's almost endearing. Boarding the Wanderlust, they detached amid the station's collapse, a spectacular implosion that swallowed the Imperial vanguard in a vortex of light. Safe in hyperspace once more, the drama simmered down, but awkward questions loomed. Eli sat in the medical bay, Zara tending his wound, Kale standing guard like an unwanted chaperone. "So, about that ascension. Am I turning into a Zerathian now? Do I get the ears?" Eli joked, pointing to her pointed ones, drawing a soft laugh from her, but her eyes held sorrow. "Partially. The bond saved you, but it changed us all." Kale crossed his arms, the awkward third wheel in their story. The Empire's remnants won't stop, and neither will the curse's echoes. The humor faded into tense silence, the trio bound by circumstance, lover, catalyst, and rival facing an uncertain future. As the ship hurtled onward, Eli glanced at Zara, the drama of trust rebuilding one awkward moment at a time. "We rewrite this together," he said, pulling her close despite Kale's presence. She nodded, but deep in the bond, faint whispers lingered, heightening the intrigue for what lay ahead. Yet, in a twist of fate, Jax interrupted. "Captain, incoming hail from an unknown source. They claim to be Zerathian rebels, and they've sent coordinates for a peace summit, with complimentary snacks." The group exchanged bewildered looks, the awkward humor returning as Eli quipped, "Snacks, now that's how you end a war." Laughter broke the tension, but the drama pulsed beneath, alliances shifting, secrets unfolding in the stars. The hail connected, a holographic figure appearing, a Zerathian elder, eyes wise and weary. "Empress Zara, the human catalyst, we've been waiting. The revival isn't what you think." The revelation hung, heightening the stakes once more, as the ship altered course toward destiny, awkward entanglements and all. The holographic elder's image flickered in the cockpit, his weathered face etched with lines of wisdom and weariness, the Zerathian rebel's emblem glowing faintly behind him like a beacon of hope amid the stars. Eli leaned forward, his shoulder still throbbing from the earlier wound, but the bond with Zara pulsed reassuringly, mending it slowly as they listened. The revival protocol was never meant for conquest, the elder continued, his voice resonant through the comms. "Zara, our empress, you forged it in desperation during the cataclysm, not to dominate, but to preserve our people's essence. The curse twisted over centuries, corrupted by isolation, but with the human catalyst, you've given us a chance at renewal, not revival. A new beginning, blended with humanity's spirit." Zara's hand tightened in Eli's, her golden eyes reflecting a mix of relief and lingering doubt, the awkward alliance with Kale standing sentinel in the background adding a layer of complexity to the moment. The elder's words washed over them, unraveling the knots of deception and destiny that had bound their journey. "We've hidden in the fringes, waiting for this signal. The beacons weren't traps, but calls to assembly. Join us at the coordinates. Together, we can redirect the power, ensure it heals rather than consumes." The transmission ended with a soft chime, leaving the cockpit in contemplative silence, the ship's hum the only sound as hyperspace streaks painted the viewport. Eli turned to Zara, searching her face for the truth that had eluded them through chases and revelations. "Is this real, or another layer of the curse?" His voice was soft, laced with the vulnerability of a man who'd crossed galaxies for a woman who might have been his undoing. She met his gaze steadily, her pointed ears drooping slightly in earnestness, the symbols on her skin and now his, fading to a gentle, harmonious glow. "It's real, Eli. The protocol was my creation. Yes, born of fear for my people's extinction. But the bond with you, it evolved beyond that. It showed me humanity's gift, not just strength, but compassion, adaptability. The rebels are what's left of the true Zerathia, not the Empire's shadows." Kale shifted uncomfortably from the doorway, his arms crossed. The clone's resemblance to Zara's past a constant reminder of old wounds. "She's right, for once," he admitted gruffly, the admission pulling a small, relieved smile from Zara. "I was preserved to enforce the old ways, but seeing you too, this human stubbornness rubbing off, it's changed the equation. The elder speaks for the remnants who rejected the curse's darkness." Eli nodded, the drama of their tangled fates settling into a tentative peace, his human optimism bridging the gaps. "Then let's go. But if this is a trap, I'm blaming the replicator for not warning us with exploding confetti." The quip drew chuckles, easing the tension as they altered course toward the coordinates, a hidden sanctuary world on the galaxy's edge, shrouded in protective nebulae. As the Wanderlust emerged from hyperspace, the planet revealed itself, a lush orb of emerald forests and crystalline seas, dotted with elegant spires that blended ancient Zerathian architecture with organic growth, a testament to survival rather than domination. Rebel ships patrolled the orbit, their designs sleek and non-aggressive, hailing them with welcoming protocols rather than threats. Docking at the central hub, they were greeted by the elder in person, flanked by a diverse group of Zerathians, some with white hair and golden eyes like Zara, others bearing scars of exile, all eyeing Eli with a mix of curiosity and respect. "The catalyst," the elder murmured, bowing slightly. "Human essence has tempered the power. Come, the ritual chamber awaits not to ascend, but to harmonize." The group followed through winding paths lined with bioluminescent flora, the air alive with the scent of blooming alien flowers, a far cry from the desolate ruins of Zerathia. In the chamber, a vast, open dome under the stars, the core artifact pulsed softly, a smaller echo of the throne that had started it all. Zara stood at its center, Eli by her side, Kale a respectful distance away, his role shifting from rival to guardian. The elder explained the process. The bond would be recalibrated, distributing the preserved essence among the rebels, infusing them with human traits, resilience, innovation while dissolving the curse's controlling aspects. No more empires, the elder intoned. Just a people renewed, coexisting in the galaxy. As the ritual began, energy swirled around them, the symbols on Eli and Zara's skin igniting in a symphony of light. Eli felt the power flow, not consuming, but sharing, visions of Zerathia's past blending with Earth's vibrant history, humans exploring stars with unyielding curiosity, Zerathians learning to adapt rather than conquer. Zara's hand in his anchored the experience, their bond evolving from a tool of fate into a genuine connection, free of manipulation. Kale joined the circle voluntarily, his cloned essence integrating, finding peace in redemption rather than revenge. The climax built gently, a crescendo of light and emotion, until the energy peaked and dispersed in a wave that rippled across the planet. The rebels gasped as subtle changes took hold, enhanced empathy, creative sparks, humanity's fuck yeah spirit weaving into their fabric. Eli staggered slightly, the glow fading from his skin, leaving him human once more, but enriched. "It's done," Zara whispered, turning to him with tears in her eyes. "The curse is broken, truly." In the aftermath, as the sanctuary world celebrated with feasts under the stars, Eli and Zara found a quiet overlook, the seas below reflecting the auroras above. Kale approached hesitantly, offering a nod of respect. "Human, you saved more than her, you saved us from ourselves. I'll stay here, help rebuild." Eli clapped him on the shoulder, the awkwardness of their history dissolving into mutual understanding. "Take care, ex-consort, and if you need tips on human humor, Jax can send holos." Kale smirked, retreating to give them space. Zara leaned against Eli, her head on his shoulder, the fur wrap replaced by a simple robe that suited her freed spirit. "What now?" she asked, her voice soft with possibility. Eli gazed at the horizon, the galaxy stretching endless before them. "We explore, together. No thrones, no curses, just you, me, and the stars. Maybe show you Earth someday. Teach you about coffee and bad decisions." She laughed, the sound melodic and free, pulling him into a kiss that sealed their future, a blend of passion and partnership. Where human grit met alien grace, the wanderlust awaited, Jax already plotting courses to uncharted worlds, the replicator finally behaving with offers of simple meals. As they boarded, hand in hand, the sanctuary faded behind, but its hope carried forward. Years blurred into adventures, charting new systems, forging alliances between humans and Zerathians, Zara becoming a bridge between worlds, Eli the hero who reminded everyone that true power lay in choice, not conquest. Kale led the rebels into a golden age of exploration, occasional hails exchanging stories and laughs. The bond remained, a gentle thread of connection, evolving into love unburdened by fate. In the end, as they watched a supernova birth new stars from their ship's viewport, Zara whispered, "Humanity? Fuck yeah." Eli grinned, pulling her close. "Zerathians too, we've got this galaxy covered." Their laughter echoed into the void, a testament to a story that began in chains and ended in boundless freedom, where a rogue pilot and a cursed empress rewrote the cosmos with heart and heroism. And so, as the stars aligned in their favor, Eli and Zara ventured into the unknown, their love a guiding light across the cosmos, proving that humanity's spirit could conquer even the darkest curses. As the storyteller, I absolutely loved crafting this tale. It's a thrilling blend of sci-fi adventure and heartfelt romance, showing how humans can turn fate around with grit and emotion. What do you think? Would you want a sequel with more twists? Thank you so much for watching and joining this journey. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are the biggest motivation for us to create even better stories. Hit that button and let us know your thoughts below.